business could reduce costs and provide the travelling public with sustainable choice of transport to try and reverse passenger decline that we all face. We are simply giving passengers a tangible and sustainable choice that we believe could encourage proper, actual modal shift with a business model that allows for scalability of the project. Change slide, please. This picture gives you an idea of where we've come from and our aspirations as a company. In front of the two buses, you just pick out the old tram lines of our depot. We're an old PD2 and the Yutong E12 next to it. In 2019, our bid for funding via the DFT ULEB scheme was successful, and after some negotiations with DFT, we managed to convert the funding from one electric bus and 750k towards infrastructure into 7 buses. This was simply not possible without the partnership we have developed over the past 2 years with Pelican Bus and Zenobi Energy. With our partners, we presented to DFT a different way of solving the main detriment in moving to electric from our industry, especially for SME bus operators, and that is the capital cost of battery on bus and the potential requirement of these changed when the battery degrades below the mileage need of the operation. And we all know that's a major factor. We examined all manufacturers in the bus market, with the main critical factors being experience in the zero-emission bus fleet markets, quality of build, mileage capability, battery warranty period, aftermarket support, whole life cost of the project, and finding a partner with significant power experience and capability. We then undertook an extensive mapping exercise of our bus network to ensure the electric option would work for us in Newport and that we could scale the project easily. Change slide, please. We have now been running the Yutong E12 for over 10 months, with maintenance costs on this 3-year-old ex-demonstrator down 42% on our diesel fleet, and diesel savings of over £50 per day. Customer satisfaction on surveys carried out was 94%, driver satisfaction of 96%. We haven't had that in the past. The only real complaint we have received on this vehicle was a customer who complained that because the vehicle was so quiet, on poor quality roads, you hear every bump. Sorry, can't help that. The reliability has been excellent with so far, no in-service failures. However, the main takeaway from this project, beyond all the normal expectations of events like this, is the scalability. It was not about a token gesture with a few electric buses. It was about scalability of the project. How could we effectively and efficiently scale this project up to achieve the aspirations of our board and Welsh Government's climate emergency and be fully zero emission by 2028. Change slide, please. So in closing, the EV vehicle we operate currently performs very well. So now we've bought 14 more, which are due in service in August. This will give the company 15% of our fleet fully zero emission. This is not something that we could easily have jumped into and haven't done. It's taken us nearly 2.5 years to get to this point in time. And hopefully, these 14 vehicles will do as well as the demonstrator has done and give us the savings we need to fulfill this project and then scale up again in phase 2. Thank you. I'll now pass to Ian Downey of Pelican Bus and Coach.
Sorry, Ian, I think you're muted.
There you go. Okay, next slide then, please, Dan. Okay, many thanks, Scott, and good afternoon, everybody. A brief introduction to Yutong. We are the world's largest bus and coach builder with a global market share of 16%. We've been #1 for 8 consecutive years and have now delivered vehicles to over 148 different countries. We have a maximum daily production of 445 vehicles, And the slide said we built 351 electric vehicles yesterday. That was on Friday. We built 322 yesterday. For the last few years, we've averaged over 65,000 buses and coaches built on an annual basis. Yutong has a rich heritage and experience on electric vehicles, with over 103,000 zero-emission buses and coaches delivered since 1999. That is 2 decades of operational experience in over 100 countries with different terrains, loadings, climate, and operational conditions. We partner with other world-class manufacturers such as ZF, WABCO, and DURR. You may not recognise the name on that list, CATL, but CATL are our battery supplier, who not only manufacture batteries for Yutong, but also Apple, BMW cars, Volkswagen, Geely, and now a company called Tesla. We're also the world's leaders in all drivetrains. So we offer buses with diesel, electric, gas, hybrid, and hydrogen drivetrains, as well as diesel and electric coaches. All of our vehicles are completely designed, tested, built and supported by Yutong / Pelican. There is no separate body being placed upon a chassis, so we have one point of contact for aftermarket support. With over 4,000 engineers in employment, we're also leading future developments such as autonomous vehicles. And on the top right-hand part of that screen, there's a picture of an autonomous Yutong vehicle in China, part of 5, operating on the open road with Scott in front of the vehicle. And it was a real surreal experience to travel on that vehicle in the open road with no driver, no steering wheel, no brake, and no accelerator pedals. Next slide, please. So Pelican Engineering was founded in 1919, and we traded continuously for 101 years with a long established record of customer care and support. Our UK sales and aftermarket support team now employ over 180 people, and we provide 24 hours a day, 7 days a week aftermarket support. Importantly for local authorities, we have also been approved by the Crown Commercial Services as a supplier for buses and coaches. And here in the UK, our vehicle park by the end of this year will be 550 diesel coaches, 6 electric coaches, and 50 electric buses, including 13 that have just been ordered by Leicester City Council, and also 1 electric airport bus. Next slide, please. There's 2 pictures there. One on the right-hand side is some of the vehicles being delivered for Scott, and then the picture on the left-hand side is the interior of the E12 for Scott as well. But with electric vehicles, we've been discussing with a number of customers their initial concerns about the operation of the vehicles. So we want to directly answer some of the points that have been raised. One point is that electric vehicles are new and they're unproven technology. We've already said there's 103,000 Yutong electric vehicles delivered in the service since 1999, and that's 2 decades of experience. But if we compare and contrast to one of the mainstream products we have in the UK, which is the hybrid vehicle, which people would regard that as being a proven technology, that's been in service for 11 years with 4,500 hybrids being delivered. So the Yutong has got 45% more time on the road and 22 times more volume. So I would suggest that this demonstrates that our zero-emission vehicles are actually proven technology over a wider number of different operational services and conditions. And that includes extreme elements such as operating at the base camp at Everest, where we have a Yutong electric vehicle. Scott mentions the range, and we now offer water-cooled, market-leading 422 kilowatt-hour size batteries. And with our integrated and efficient complete vehicle, we have very, very low energy consumption. This results in approximately 371 kilometers of driving range on a single 3-hour charge. An approximate 1 hour charge would also provide an additional 120 kilometres of extra range, so it can be topped up very easily. On battery life, because we've got many millions of miles of operation, and coupled with the technical expertise of Yutong and CATL, we now can offer a market-leading warranty as standard. On charging, we utilise safe, fast DC charging, which is becoming more of an industry standard with electric vehicles. These have CCS2 charge guns, providing multimodal charging for other vehicles, such as a BMW i3 or i8 car. Then let's look at customer appeal. Number one, it's a zero emission vehicle. It's very quiet, it's very smooth. The features include full LED lights, USB points, and electric air conditioning for passenger comfort. It also looks slightly different to a diesel bus, so customers and the local population can actually see what your investment has been spent upon. Scott has already commented on the fantastic feedback from both customers and drivers alike. And one thing that also is about education. An electric bus is not a diesel bus. It's actually better. It's more reliable. It has significantly less maintenance. It's a lot more efficient in operation, and it costs less energy to operate. And Scott's already seen some of those savings. And you don't need as many spare vehicles because of the better reliability and maintenance. It goes out into service, does a full day's work, returns to be charged, and then repeats, and then repeat. Next slide, please. So with Pelican and our product range here for the UK, we have a comprehensive product range with a number of shared components that optimises aftermarket support. On single decks, we offer both a 10.9 and a 12 metre single deck bus available in both 1 or 2 door variants. We're the only manufacturer to offer an electric zero emission right-hand drive coach. We can supply airports with not only landside, but also airside vehicles for passenger movements. And finally, we will have a double decker available in the very near future. And with that, I will now hand you over to Bradley and Ryan at Zenobi to talk about the infrastructure and funding of the partnership we have with Newport. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian, and good afternoon, everyone. As an introduction, my name is Bradley, and I'm a Business Development Director within the Zenobi fleet team. I'm focused on offering bus operators like Newport Transport our full turnkey charging infrastructure and electric bus managed service and finance offering. I'm going to provide an overview of this offering, and hopefully it will be of interest to other operators and local authorities, particularly those looking at the all-electric town bids. And then also give a bit of background to Zenobi as a business before Ryan covers the construction of the Newport Depot project and the use of battery energy storage assets in the solution. Zenobi specialises in owning and operating batteries. Over the last 3 years, we have built an existing portfolio of 73 megawatts of battery energy storage assets to support National Grid with the provision of energy in the UK. This has enabled us to become experts in batteries as an asset class. Newport Transport, in full partnership with Zenobe and Pelican, are the first bus operator in the UK with a plug-and-play end-to-end solution that supports the full lifecycle service model for the vehicle, batteries, infrastructure and power supply. In line with Scott's comments earlier, the main challenges that we see bus operators face when we are speaking to them on their plans to implement electric buses are firstly, the potentially high upfront cost of the charging infrastructure to address grid constraints restricting access to a sufficient energy supply to support electric fleets. Secondly, the greater upfront cost of an electric bus versus a diesel or a hybrid. And finally, as Scott emphasised earlier, the risk associated with the electric bus battery performance and the cost for replacements. Zenobi is a specialist delivery partner to bus operators, including Newport Transport, working with them through the lifetime of their depot electrification operations to help overcome some of these key challenges. Newport Transport obtained full access to our experienced engineering team who work with them to manage the full construction process for the depot electrification project. Post-construction, we will be Newport Buses' charging partner, guaranteeing that their buses will all be charged daily to meet the route requirements. We can offer this charging performance guarantee given our in-depth understanding of bus batteries and our market-leading bus operations software platform, enabling us to implement smart charging strategies. Zenobi has partnered with Newport Transport by effectively de-risking their investment by accepting responsibility for the charging infrastructure to power the onboard bus batteries, as well as for their operation, maintenance and replacement of these units to guarantee a level of performance throughout their life. Through Zenobi's battery energy storage business division, we have a ready source of demand for second life batteries. This continues to build on the sustainability agenda as we ensure that bus batteries are used beyond their initial purpose on the vehicle to support further renewable projects. As an example, on one of our other live depot projects in the Midlands, we have used a second life bus battery as the battery storage asset to charge the electric buses. As Zenobi has a secondary purpose for bus batteries, we take higher residual values so we can provide competitive proposals to bus operators for our services. We offer bus operators a full turnkey managed service solution for the provision of their charging requirements for their fleet. We fully support them with their bus battery managed requirements, and we provide a full electric vehicle finance offering. Newport Transport has utilised Zenobi as their valued and experienced partner to assist with all aspects of the adoption of electric buses. A key component of our offering is that we can use battery energy storage assets to ensure the bus operator's depot has enough energy to meet the charging requirements of their fleet. This can be a much faster and a more cost-effective method to increase energy supply to a depot without a D&O grid upgrade. My colleague Ryan will provide more details on this shortly and how we use this innovative solution at Newport's bus depot. By utilising our finance offering, bus operators have managed to maximise the use of their grant funding to gain access to more electric buses. We can support local authorities to prepare strong bids to help obtain grant funding. As Scott highlighted earlier, Newport Transport believed it could only purchase a low number of electric buses and the associated infrastructure with their budget and the grant funding they had been awarded. By partnering with Zenobi, we match funded the grant to be able to support Newport Transport with the capital cost of 15 Yutong electric buses and the necessary charging infrastructure. This proposition can support other local authorities and bus operators with their all-electric town grant bids. We are very excited to be partnering on more electrification projects with Pelican and Yutong for several other bus operators in the UK and further afield, but Zenobi are manufacturer agnostic and have experience of working with multiple different types of chargers and electric buses. Working with Zenobi, Newport Transport gained access to our experience of electrifying 6 UK depots, supporting the charging requirements for 96 electric buses for 5 major bus operators. If you could kindly move on to the next slide, Dan, that would be great. I'm now going to provide an overview of our full turnkey electric bus charging infrastructure, managed service and financing proposition. Zenobi purchases all the charging infrastructure and the electric buses directly from the manufacturers, covering all the upfront capital cost of the project. We then typically enter into 3 contracts with the bus operator. It is important to highlight that bus operators do not have to use all 3 of our offerings, but can select different combinations to meet their requirements. In respect of the Newport project, we were pleased to be providing the full end-to-end solution with all 3 contracts. The first of which is our charging service agreement, whereby Zenobi manages the site construction and we cover the day one cost of all the charging infrastructure, including the chargers, grid works, construction, as well as the battery energy storage asset. Zenobi then provides a performance guarantee that the bus operators' electric buses will all be charged as required to support their operating routes. The bus operator pays Zenobi a monthly fee over the agreed contract term, which covers our ongoing service to charge the vehicles as well as the capital cost of the infrastructure. We then split the electric bus into 2 different components, being the battery and the chassis, or shall we say everything else other than the battery on the vehicle. For the battery, Zenobi provide our battery on the bus managed service contract. whereby we own the bus battery and provide it to the operator via a managed service arrangement. We guarantee that the bus battery will always meet the minimum working capacity requirements for the operating route. Zenobi will cover the cost of the replacement batteries when they are no longer fit for purpose on the bus. And the final contract that we typically enter into with our customers, like Newport Transport, is the master rented agreement for the bus body or the chassis, a financing arrangement for the chassis so the bus operator has access to a complete electric bus. Again, for these two services associated with the vehicle, the bus operator pays Zenobi a monthly fee which covers our ongoing battery management services as well as the capital cost of the buses. Finally, I just wanted to highlight a few of the key benefits of our offering. Firstly, the bus operator, like Newport Transport, gained access to our experienced engineering team who worked with them to manage the full depot electrification project. After construction, Zenobi is your long-term specialist charging partner, as we guarantee your electric buses will always be charged to meet the agreed routes. We also offer a financing proposition, as the bus operator has no upfront capital expenditure for the charging infrastructure or the electric buses, as this is covered by Zenobi. The bus operator pays via a monthly service payment. And finally, the bus battery technology risk is assumed by Zenobi, who are responsible for replacing the bus battery when it reaches the end of its useful life on the vehicle. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Ryan, who is the Zenobi project manager at Newport, to provide an overview of the challenges on the site and how these were resolved using Zenobi's battery management expertise.
Thank you very much, Bradley. Dan, if you'd like to go on to the next slide, please. So yes, it's very exciting to be part of this project, which will see 15 green electric buses go into service within the Newport area. I am going to give a brief overview from an infrastructure delivery perspective, which will include things such as timelines and also some of the challenges we've faced. I'm also going to touch on how the static battery works, and indeed touch on some of the software and the automated control system that we have developed, which we will be using at Newport. Some of the key statistics of the Newport site, obviously 15 buses, about just over £5 million of investment, 422 kilowatt hours of battery on a single deck bus, with 0.4 megawatts of the stationary Tesla battery. Some of the challenges that we have faced. In fact, I'll do the timeline first, sorry. If we do, so on the 6th of January is when we started. By the 27th of February, we had received the delivery of the Tesla batteries. And by mid-March, which was just pre-COVID-19 pause to our works, we had done and completed pretty much all of the installation from an infrastructure perspective, which includes the cabling, the groundworks, the installation of the battery, and indeed the installation of our switchgear container, which means that we have about 10 days left roughly of works to do, which we will remobilize in July and connect all the chargers and also connect to the new point of connection, which we are having run towards us from the DNO. Meaning that by September, when the buses arrive, everything will be ready to go and the buses will be able to go into service. A key point, therefore, being that we're looking at about a 12-week install timeline, well within the delivery timelines of the buses themselves. Dan, if you'd like to go on to the next slide, I've got a little video there to show you. So please feel free to play it. So this is a time lapse of the Tesla batteries being placed into position on the concrete pad. If you look very closely, you'll probably see me scuttling around there as well. Some of the challenges that we have faced, obviously, one being that there is not enough power supply to the depot itself to charge the electric vehicles. We we combat this by the battery, which is the Tesla one that you see in front of you. I will go into a little bit more detail into that shortly. Another challenge is obviously we are working in a live environment. It is crucial that we minimize any disruptions to the operations of the depot. So we've had to work very closely with the depot managers and the people on the ground there to ensure that that is kept to an absolute minimum. Examples of that would be things like we had to dig a trench from one end of the depot to the other, which crossed an access path for the buses to get around the depot. We did that half and half. So did half of it, then reinstated it, then did the other half, meaning that no operations were disrupted in that regards. Another key challenge or point to make is space and parking layout. Space is a premium at depots, and we've had to work very closely with the depot, with Newport, to understand where we should be placing the buses and therefore where we should be placing the cables and corresponding chargers. And there's a sophisticated piece of critical thinking that needs to take place in regards to behavioural change. Electric vehicles are not like diesel buses in the sense that you can't just park a diesel bus in an available space. You need to get the electric vehicle to a charger, obviously ideally within a certain time period, before other diesel buses sort of block its path to get to that point. We combat that through things like putting televisions in place, which will tell the shunters as they come through where they need to park the bus. And our software, which I'll go into in a second, also explains to the depot how long they've got until they ideally need to have that bus on charge, so we can guarantee that it gets out the next morning with a full charge. If you'd like to go on to the next slide, please, Dan. So this is a graph showing the battery energy storage asset. It is a snapshot of 24 hours. On your vertical axis, you've got the power, and on your y-axis, you've got the time of day. So what this is showing is your blue line is effectively what the battery, in this case the Tesla battery, is doing, and the yellow line is the power requirements of the buses when they need to charge in an evening. So your first little bump, so anything above 0 is the battery discharging, and anything below is the battery charging. So prior to all the buses arriving in the depot, around 7 o'clock, the battery is doing things like grid services. Then you see that the buses start to arrive around 7 o'clock and start charging. Meanwhile, our battery starts charging up as well, ready to charge those batteries in the evening. And come 9 o'clock, we see the red line is the grid limit. So that is the maximum amount of supply and power that we can get from the grid. So anything above that is power being required from the buses. And that is when the battery then comes into play. So you can actually see the blue line mirroring the everything above that red line grid limit in order to service and provide power to those buses. So come the morning, we've charged all the buses. You then see the battery then starts charging a bit to go back to fully charged. And that little spike that you see at about 8 a.m. is Robert, our operations manager, coming into the office in the morning and just doing a quick check to make sure that everything's working as it should be. Next slide, please, Dan. So the next slide I'm going to show you is the quick overview of the software that we put into place. And this is something that we have developed ourselves. The main slide with the sort of different colored buses on it is the depot overview. So what this will show you is when the buses are on charge, that little blue line will go up and down dependent on what the state of charge of the bus is. We will, if there's any sort of errors on the charges or anything like that, that will flash up as well. And indeed, we are able to show you the state of charge of the buses on the road. Blue, everything is hunky-dory. Yellow, you might want to consider bringing that bus back. Red, it's unlikely that that bus has enough energy for it to come back to complete its route and get back to the depot. Another key point is we also have RFIDs on the buses themselves. So when they come into the depot, we know that it's in the depot, and we can start timing and give you pointers of how long you've got until that bus needs to ideally be on a charge or onto a charger, so that it can reliably get to full power and then go out on its route the next morning. Also, because we've got GPS on the buses, we can do things like vehicle tracking on a map. And you can also then start drilling into the individual bus performance metrics, things like your state of charge of the buses, distance over time, and indeed temperature. Important to note that this is also bus manufacturer agnostic from a bus charger and battery perspective. I think that's probably about time. So thank you very much for listening.
Next slide, please, Dan. So in summary, the Newport bus, in full partnership with Zenobe and Pelican, were the first bus operator in the UK with a plug-and-play, end-to-end model that supports the full life cycle service model of the vehicles: batteries, infrastructure, and power supply. This partnership was absolutely critical to the operation and for a Newport bus. We could not have done it or have the knowledge set to do this without the partners involved in this. So really, today's presentation is about electric vehicles, but really key to this is the partnership and the scalability of the project. Happy to take any questions. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you very much to all the speakers there. Hopefully that was a really whistle-stop tour through what's happened in Newport. We do have a couple of questions that have come through. One for you, Ian, around the vehicles. You mentioned the 371 kilometre range. One of the questions is that at the beginning of the vehicle's life, or is that at the end? And is this achievable? Is this range achievable in all temperatures experienced across the UK?
Okay, thanks for that question. It's a good question. So the first element is that we always will have 12% state of charge kept in our vehicles as a recommendation. We've completed with 2 vehicles across the length and breadth of the UK and Ireland tests with our full electric air conditioning. So we don't have any diesel heaters. So this is aircon in the summer and electric heating in the winter. And our range is between 0.8 kilowatt hours and 1.2 kilowatt hours across the whole piece. So that range is very definitely doable. And we also have, as part of our warranty, a guarantee on degradation, which I won't share for this audience, but will share with customers at a different point.
Thanks, Ian. Do the vehicles have diesel heaters, or is this zero emission heating?
No, we only have zero. We will not offer diesel heaters for the UK, and the vehicle test that we've done is with full electrically driven air conditioning for both heating and cooling. So that's the enhanced passenger experience.
Great stuff. And
can I just add to that, Dan? Bradley
Sure.
and Zenobi, just to highlight, in respect of our underlying software that links to the vehicles that Ryan kindly covered in his presentation, we can actually control the heating remotely via the software, because I know it's often a requirement of bus operators that the buses are preheated. And the other thing that we do is we work very closely with Ian to understand the energy consumption impact of using the heaters. And we factor that into our analysis and the impact that has on the consumption on the energy of the battery, so that we can ensure that the vehicles are charged to support the heating requirements as well as the mileage that they need to undertake.
Great stuff. Thank you, Bradley. One more for you, Ian. You've got, I think the Newport buses are going to have 420 odd kilowatt hour battery packs. Is that correct?
422, yes.
422. And is there much of a weight difference between your initial first offering with the E10 than what you had with these 422s?
Yeah, I mean, if we've taken weight out of the vehicle, which we're able to do because we're a complete vehicle manufacturer, so we're responsible for everything that's on that vehicle. We've actually worked, if you look at our battery chemistry and the size of our batteries, the vehicle that Scott has got, which is a 3-year-old demo, had 295 batteries. We have lightweight seats within the vehicle itself, so that helps. The demonstrator we had in London was 324 kilowatt hour batteries, and now we've gone to 422 without any weight penalty.
Excellent. So you haven't added more weight for those batteries?
We've taken weight out of the vehicle without having any adverse effect upon the structure. We've used lightweight seats. We looked at the whole vehicle and how to optimize it. And because battery chemistry has moved on, we've now got 422, and previously we were at 295. And also the 422 are water cooled, so we actually keep them at optimum working temperatures, which extends the warranty life and the whole life of those batteries.
Great stuff. Thank you. One for you, Bradley. You mentioned that in one of your other projects that you were using an old battery bus, an old bus battery as part of the on-site depot storage. Could you just tell us a bit more about that? How old is the battery? How big was it?
Yeah, I can give a few details on that because some of it is commercially sensitive. But the bus battery was operating in Scandinavia, and it was only 2 to 3 years old, so it wasn't one that had kind of reached the end of its useful life. But we kind of wanted to test the principle, given there aren't that many old batteries available in the market, but it is key to our proposition that we will use second life batteries within future projects. Great stuff, thank you. And yeah, just to let people know, if you'd like to ask questions, please do use the chat function. One for you, Scott. I know you've had one of the Yutong buses doing a demonstrator trial for the last, was it 10 months or so? What sort of kilowatt hour per kilometer consumption have you been seeing, and what's been the overall experience of the drivers for the vehicle?
What we're seeing is what Ian reported to you earlier. It's been exceptionally efficient for us, and that's on a 3-year-old vehicle. So we're expecting better than that on the 14 new ones. So currently less than 1 kilowatt hour, but with the higher battery capacity and the newer vehicles, we expect that to be even better with the 14 new. The driver and passenger surveys we've done has been excellent. The build quality of the vehicle has been excellent, and the customers themselves have been openly looking for the vehicle on their own services, to a point whereby we have had requests from customers through social media to place the EV vehicle on their routes, which is excellent.
Excellent, thanks, Scott. And just on what you've had to do with your staff in terms of maintenance and training, how long has it taken you to are you training up your own staff to be able to deal with the high voltage equipment, or are you bringing in specialists?
One of the benefits of the partnership is that the power aspect of all this, we run buses. We're effectively bus operators. The high power stuff is very specified to higher power experts. So that's why the partnership works so well. The Zenobi will continue to be our partner for the high power, and our guys at this stage will not be able to touch the vehicles. However, as we move into more fleets and we scale this project up, there'll be a requirement to then train our own people. And through the partnership, both Pelican and Zenobi have openly offered to train our people moving forward.
Do you have any idea how long that training might take? Is it a couple of weeks, a couple of months?
I'm not sure, Zenobi.
Bradley, would you have an idea, or Ryan?
So I'll answer it. The training itself is pretty from self-explanatory, because we have the software that aids us. So it really is sort of an afternoon of workshops on the software front, which will then give clear depictions as to how the buses are doing, and indeed how they're charging.
Okay, so in terms of training people up, it wouldn't take too long to use the software, but that presumably the hardware would take a little longer than that. They'd need some high voltage training, presumably.
Yeah, so just on that, so the high voltage components on the vehicles, we will be working with Newport to train them over a period of time. So fundamentally, they have to have the correct qualifications to work with HV. And then thereafter, we have on-the-job training where they have proper familiarisation and experience of working at the high voltage components on the vehicle itself.
Great stuff. One more for you, Ian. What did you mention the length of the warranties on the E12? I don't know if they're different warranties for different parts of the vehicle, whether it's the body or the batteries.
Just because we are in an open format, I can say that we believe we have market leading warranties, but I prefer not to mention them. And if any customers want direct information, they can contact me and I'll go through the warranties we have on the batteries, on the vehicle and on the drivetrain as well.
Thanks, Ian. Scott, we got a question for you. What was the length of the route? You mentioned a 42% saving in comparison to diesel for the electric bus. We've got a question on what distance are the buses running over?
The bus itself is running through all our bus cards in Newport. So our maximum bus card for Newport town is 210 miles in 1 day. So we have managed to have the vehicle used on every Newport route we have to make sure that this can scale up. There was no point sticking it on 1 or 2 routes and then hoping for the best. So it's actually modelled across all our network except for the Cardiff and Monmouthshire routes. They weren't planned or not planned to be electric for a while just now, but all of Newport has covered that off, and it came back as that saving of 42% throughout its life so far with us.
Excellent. In terms of the infrastructure that you've put in the depot so far, is that just for the 14 vehicles, or have you put in any contingency for more buses to be electrified in the future?
The plan is to go right.
Yeah, so the infrastructure in place is for the vehicle, the 15 vehicles. However, it has been deliberately designed to scale up. There is enough space in the switchgear, for example, to be able to add additional power to it, and indeed there's enough space within the place where we've put the batteries, because they're modular. We can add those add additional batteries in the future as well.
Great stuff. How many vehicles have you got at that depot, Scott?
110, Dan, currently.
Okay. And is the long-term plan to get those all over to electric?
The board and shareholder aspiration is, yes, to go to fully zero emission by 2028, which is a big ask given the current COVID issues we're having. But the aspiration is still there, yes, to do that. However, part of the benefit of the system we've taken on board is that at any point in time, if we can't guarantee that we'll stay there for the next 20 years, we've been there over 100 now, but the next 20 we couldn't guarantee staying there because of the space requirement going to fully electric. So part of the benefit of the Zenobi partnership is that the whole system is basically plug and play, as in it's modular and can be removed to another site. So it was one of the key elements for us.
Great stuff. Thank you. Have we got any more questions for the speakers? I don't know if Bradley or Ian, you wanted to add anything else to what we've just discussed.
I'm not. I'd just like to thank everybody for the time this afternoon.
Yeah, no, thanks. And the only thing from our perspective, I think Ian clearly touched upon the warranty perspective. I just wanted to kind of highlight from the Zenobi offering perspective, we kind of support that warranty as well, given that we assume the battery technology risk, and once the battery is no longer fit for purpose on the vehicle to complete the agreed route, we take responsibility for replacing it, given we want to use that initial battery in a secondary life application.
Great stuff. Okay. Well, if we've got no more questions, I'll just give it one more minute in case we do have any more questions. But hopefully you've all enjoyed today's presentation and you've got enough detail out of it that you'd like. I'm sure, you know, Ian, Scott, or Ryan or Bradley would field any private conversations that you'd like to have. We've got their contact details at the beginning of the presentation today. I will be sharing around a link to the slides, so we'll be sharing those with all of the participants today, and the webinar has been recorded, so you'll be able to go back and view it again, or share it with colleagues and friends who might be interested as well. So just to finish off, I'll just share a slightly different presentation. It's fair to say that we very much plan to have this webinar as a physical meeting. We very much wanted to go down to Zenobi, to Newport, to actually host this webinar as a physical workshop. But unfortunately, obviously due to COVID, we haven't been able to do that. But hopefully, later on in the year, maybe in Q4, at the beginning of next year, we're actually going to be able to host this as a physical meeting. And, you know, we might be actually go and see the infrastructure, look at the chargers, look at the vehicles themselves, hear from Scott and the team in Newport, and actually be able to hear about their experiences of the vehicles in service. So hopefully we'll actually be able to do this in real life. But obviously we at the LowCVP are going to continue hosting webinars around the electrification of buses, as well as supporting other technologies as well. So please do look out for more webinars in the future. The next webinar we have planned coming up is with Amiens in France, where Irizar have deployed their IE tram bus. It's a tram that it's a bus that looks like a tram. I'm sure some of you have heard of it. It's a bus rapid transit project there in Amiens in France, using opportunity charging. We've not got a date for that yet, but we will be announcing one shortly. We also have LowCVP's annual conference coming up on the 15th of July. There's a link there in the slides that I'll send around in the email, where you can register. If you're a member of LowCVP, you can register for free. And if you are interested in joining one of LowCVP's working group, we cover not only bus and coach, but commercial vehicles, passenger car, fuels, energy infrastructure. And we will also be looking at hydrogen in the near future and what our role is in supporting the rollout of hydrogen. So do get in contact with myself or others at LowCVP. And I'll just double check if we've had any other questions. Doesn't look like it. So I'm going to call it a day there. So thank you all very much for attending. We had almost 100 there, so it was really good. So thank you very much for joining us, and wish you a good afternoon, and hope you all stay safe and sane. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.